On the night everything changed, Maya Ramon stood behind the grand marble reception desk of the Orion Crown Hotel, fingers slightly trembling as she adjusted the crisp blazer that didn't quite feel like hers, because it wasn't. She was only filling in for a sick receptionist, a last-minute favor she'd agreed to out of desperation for overtime pay. Never imagining that this single shift would quietly redraw the map of her future, the lobby shimmered with warm golden lights reflecting off polished floors, rain tapping softly against the towering glass walls outside, and Maya kept telling herself to breathe, to smile, to remember the training she'd crammed in just 6 rushed hours earlier, because tonight she wasn't a struggling part-time hospitality student with unpaid bills and a mother waiting at home for medication money. Tonight she was the calm, professional face of a 5-star hotel, and she clung to that thought as the revolving doors parted and a man stepped in who seemed to pull the entire room's attention with him, tall and broad-shouldered, rain-soaked yet composed, dressed in a dark tailored suit that clung to him like armor, his presence commanding without a single word, and for a heartbeat Maya forgot her script, her breath hitching as she watched him cross the marble floor with measured steps, water dripping from his coat like punctuation marks announcing his arrival. When he reached the desk and looked up, his eyes, sharp, tired, observant, met hers, and something unspoken passed between them. A strange quiet recognition that felt heavier than coincidence, but Maya pushed it aside, offering her most professional smile as she greeted him, her voice steady despite the thunder of her heart, asking for his reservation. And when he gave his name, Adrian Vale, the air seemed to shift, because even Maya, sheltered as she was from the world of billionaires and boardrooms, recognized it from headlines and whispered conversations, a self-made millionaire. Investor known for acquiring failing businesses and turning them into empires, a man rumored to be as ruthless as he was brilliant, and yet here he stood, drenched from the rain, exhaustion etched into his face like he'd been carrying the weight of more than just wealth. Maya's fingers flew over the keyboard, her training kicking in as she confirmed his suite, but when the system froze, of course it did, on the one night she wanted everything to go smoothly, panic threatened to rise in her chest. Yet before she could apologize, Adrian simply waited, watching her with a calm patience that surprised her, and instead of snapping or demanding efficiency like she'd imagined someone like him would, he asked softly if she was new, the question not accusatory but curious, and she admitted the truth with a nervous laugh, explaining she was just filling in, expecting annoyance but receiving something else entirely, a faint smile, almost kind, as he told her everyone has a first night pretending to be someone braver than they feel, words that settled into her chest like warmth, grounding her enough to reboot the system and finish the check-in, her hand steady now as she handed him his key card. Their interaction should have ended there, another guest, another transaction, but fate had other plans, because as Adrian turned to leave, the power flickered and went out for a brief, startling second, plunging the lobby into shadow before emergency lights hummed on, and in that pause, Maya heard herself speak without thinking, assuring him the generator would stabilize any moment, and he paused, turning back, meeting her eyes again, and in that look was something like gratitude, like relief, as if in that brief darkness he'd needed a human voice more than a luxury suite. Later that night, when the rush slowed and the rain intensified, Maya noticed Adrian again, not as a name on a screen but as a man sitting alone in the lounge, laptop closed, staring out at the storm as though the city beyond the glass held answers he'd been searching for too long. And when she brought him tea on the house, an impulsive gesture she almost talked herself out of, he looked genuinely surprised, thanking her with a sincerity that felt rare and unguarded, and they talked, cautiously at first, about nothing important and then about everything that was, about how Maya was studying hospitality management to build a stable life for her family, how she believed small kindnesses could change a person's entire day, and how Adrian confessed, quietly, that success had given him power but taken his peace, that he'd been running from failure so long he'd forgotten how to stand still, and in those late night hours, amid rain and dim lights, something shifted for both of them, a mutual recognition that life wasn't just about survival or dominance but connection. When Adrian checked out the next morning, Maya expected nothing more than a polite goodbye, but days later, the hotel manager called her into the office with news that made her knees weak. Adrian Vale had personally requested her for a permanent front desk position, along with a scholarship for her final year of studies through his foundation, citing her professionalism, empathy, and composure under pressure. And as Maya stood there, stunned, she realized that the night she'd nearly declined an extra shift had become the turning point she never saw coming, not because she met a millionaire, but because she showed up as herself, kind, capable, and brave despite fear, and Adrian, for his part, Left the hotel changed too, reminded that behind every polished desk and practiced smile was a human being whose quiet strength could rewrite even the most powerful man's story. And if this story moved you, if you believe small moments can create life-changing miracles, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because every subscription helps us bring you more powerful stories that inspire hope, courage, and the belief that your ordinary day might just be the beginning of something extraordinary.